came to the world you created, trading your crown for a cross. You willingly died, your innocent life paid the cost. And counting your status is nothing. The King of all kings came to serve, washing my feet, covering me with your love. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. You are my life and my treasure, the one that I can't live without. Here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down. Here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. If more of you means less
Well, good evening, everybody. How y'all doing tonight? Everybody doing all right? Everybody over here is doing good. How about on this side? Everybody doing good? All right. Good to see you tonight. We're glad that you're here. And it's been a wild and crazy week already. Y'all pray for Brittany, it's Brother Cody's wife. She came down with appendicitis. They rushed her to Lubbock, and she had surgery this afternoon, and they got her good before it burst, so that was good. So they're talking about maybe coming home tonight. So he just got Porter out of the hospital on Monday. So it's been a wild week for Brother Cody, and but y'all pray for him. I know that he would appreciate that. Also, if you don't mind, pray for Galen Vaughn as well. He was taken to the hospital here, and they transferred him to Abilene. He's having some heart issues, and Debbie, his wife, called me this afternoon. I was kind of keeping tabs on him, and so he's at Hendrick North in Abilene. So if y'all can pray for Brother Galen, I know that they would appreciate that as well. And also pray for my mom, if you don't mind, our family. Her only sister passed away yesterday, and in Georgia. And so if you would lift her up in prayer, I know that she would really, really appreciate that as well. In Rome, Georgia. Yes, ma'am. So right out, not too far from Atlanta, that area over there. So, but anyway, so if you'd pray for her. So now my mom just has my mom and her youngest brother. So that's it. I think they had 8 kids, and so then there's 2 left. So anyway, I know she would appreciate that. But it's good to see you tonight. We're glad that you are here. We got a lot of things going on this week, man. And just so I'll introduce our missionary here in just a moment. But there's a couple of things that's going to be happening. This coming Saturday is going to be our ladies' brunch. And so, ladies, I hope that you are going to make plans on coming and be a part of that. We already have our table signed up and stuff. We'll be setting that up tomorrow. And so you don't have to decorate a table. You can just show up, all right? So if that's what you want to do, we'll have plenty of room for everybody. But we want to do that, lady. This is for you, just to kind of honor our ladies, our moms, and things like that. So if you're a female, this is for you, all right? And so we want you to come. But guys, we need your help as well. So if you can come and help us serve the ladies on Saturday, we could sure use your help, okay? And so if you can come around 8:30 or 9, that would be fantastic. The ladies' brunch goes from 10 to noon, okay? And so we want you to come and be a part of that, and love to have you ladies come and have you guys come help us as well. Our ice maker bit the dust today, so we chunked it out. So we're going and buying ice, all right? So we've been doing that. So it's just one of those things. We've only had it for 14 years, and so I think we got our money's worth out of it. So, but we had it finally cratered. We had some guys looking at it, and he took the cover off, and he goes, "Oh my." And so I've got pictures of the rust and stuff that's in there. So if you want to see it, I'll show it to you. But it's gone. And so we got a new one coming in, but I don't think it's going to be here before the ladies' tea. So we'll make do. We'll figure it out. And but anyway, we want you to remember that, and then also about our sign-up sheets that we have back there for our golf tournament. That's on Memorial Day. So hopefully we got a lot of teams signed up for that. May the 17th is going to be graduation Sunday. So if we have a lot of seniors graduating this year, and so as Cody was saying this. I forgot. I think we have like 15. I think it's a big group, and so we're gonna have a senior table out in the lobby there, and so senior mom's gonna be bringing pictures and all that stuff, and then we're going to be honoring our graduates on the 17th, okay? See Brother Cody for that. Also on the 17th that evening, we're going to be doing our bake auction for our fundraiser for camp. So there's 2 things we need you to do, actually 3. We need you to donate baked items, okay? Then we need you to come to the auction, and we need you to bid and buy stuff, all right? And so that's what we need you to do. And they're going to be offering hamburger plates for a donation. So again, 100% of the proceeds for that goes to our senior and junior camp, okay, to help it. And let me just tell you, in the past, God has always always provided through that one fundraiser, and we were able to pay all of our kids' way to camp, or a big portion of it. And so if you can help us with that, I know that Cody and them would appreciate that. So those are some things that's going to be going on. May is busy, busy, busy. Of course, June's going to be not even. It's going to be just as busy anyway. So summer's, it is. It is what it is. That's why we like way we like it around here, right? And so, but tonight I'll be introducing a great friend of ours and missionary. Missionaries are my heroes. You know that, and I love our missionaries. And we were at Springfield last weekend. Got to see Emily graduate and got to hang out with some of my friends who are missionaries, and it was a lot of fun getting to see some of those guys still doing the work, man, and it's really good. But Brother Casey Edwards is our MANNA missionary to Guatemala. I almost said guacamole, but Guatemala, and he and his wife are doing a fantastic job down there. Some of you went down there not too long ago on a missions trip. You've seen it firsthand, and so what a great job he's doing. And so he's able to be here with us tonight. They're going to kind of fill us in on what's going on there in Guatemala. So would you join me, and let's give a great Calvary welcome to Brother Casey. All right, come on up, Brother Casey.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't clap yet. Well, it's good to be here. I love West Texas. My wife grew up in Midland, Odessa area. See, I'm trying to learn Spanish. I don't even know English. This is a problem. So my wife and daughter, they're not here. Our daughter is getting married in February, so they came in to go look at wedding stuff. And my wife came in to be with the boys. We have 2 boys that live in Fort Worth, and then we have 2 grandkids. So she told me I'm not traveling with you. So I don't know how to take that just yet. So no, she couldn't be here. So last time I was here was about 2.5 years ago. It's crazy how fast it goes by and how much fun we've had traveling and being in Guatemala now for over 2 years. And God's done some great things. But I remember being here, and I'm sitting right over there with this lovely couple, right there about the 3rd row. And on the way over here, because we had just left a conference on a Sunday afternoon over in Early, Texas. Is that right? Early, or maybe Brownwood, somewhere in that area. We left a conference, and on the way here, my wife goes, I want you to do the water filter. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. I don't want to do the water filter. I don't like our water filter. Jill loves it. And the water filter, what we do is we're able to take these water filters inside houses to, it purifies the water, makes it drinkable. And I'll talk more about that water here in a little bit. But it's got a gospel track on it. And the whole time you're going through this whole thing with the dirty water and clean water. Were some of y'all here that time? A couple of you were. And so I'll pull up the old water, what it looks like, and I ask people, do I get a volunteer to drink it? And everybody usually laughs. We do that at the homes as well. But then you run it through the filter, and the water comes out really nice and pure. Well, as I mentioned then, the devil or one of his demon buddies lives inside my water filter. Yeah, there's always something goes wrong with it. So this is Sunday afternoon. The conference, maybe it's Monday. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But we're driving here, and I've got just a few hours because I'm kicking off the conference that Monday night or whenever it was. I'm like, if you really want me to do this, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm going to regret this, but I'll do it. So we get to the hotel, and I'll work on the water filter, and I bet I did that thing 5, 6, 7 times, and it was perfect. So I think we got this. I think we're going to be okay. So I remember getting here. I got it all set up. And sat down right there, and Beto, is that how you say his name? He goes, hey, I will put it up on the table. And there was a table right here. This is how bad it traumatized me, this water filter. So I set it right, he goes, I'll take it, and I'll put it on the table for you. I said, yeah, not a problem, man. So he gets it, he puts it on the table, and we're talking and everything, and then they say, he introduces me just like Steve did just now, and I came up there, and there is water all over the floor up here. The devil, I'm telling you. That's when I looked at my wife, and I immediately started sweating. And I'm like, this is going to be the worst night possible. They're going to run me out of here. And I run through that whole thing because this water's just sitting here just dripping. And we go through it, and I do my whole thing, and I don't even know what I spoke on that night. I'm like, we're done. They're not going to take us on for support, nothing. They're going to say, y'all are a joke. And your pastor, Larry McAden, is that his last name? He goes, brother, that was good. I said, did you listen? Did you even pay attention to anything I did? And so it's amazing what God will do through something that I thought was just horrible, but I will never forget that. Matter of fact, I've told that story I don't know how many times, but I don't do that water filter no more in churches. I've never had any good, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say luck. We don't run off of luck, but never went well for me. So, but anyways, for those who don't know me, my name is Casey. I got a wife. Her name's Jill. Like I said, she's not traveling with me, and we have an adult daughter who we're all three on the mission field together. So we are never going to be empty nesters, I don't think. As soon as we thought that, no, we went to Guatemala. She went with us, but they are getting married in February. She is married to she's engaged to one of the young men who grew up in the orphanage that we're part of MANNA. And so MANNA has a MANNA Ogar Children's Home, which is an orphanage, and it's right below our apartment. So it's never quiet in our apartment. Them kids, they can be loud. Sometimes they're quiet, but it's kind of fun to listen to every now and then. So, but she's engaged to a young man who grew up in that, and it's really cool to see that. And he's like, man, I'm going to have a family. Do we ever think about that for a minute? I'm so thankful to have a family. And he came through. He was telling our church a legacy when they were there that, hey, I've got a family. Now I've got a church family in Fort Worth, and they just adopted him as well. So, but we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Getting excited. I am not going to do the wedding. Many people ask, because I did my oldest son's wedding. I've done a few others, and she knew I kind of wanted to do it, and then I said, listen, I think I'll be dad this time, and sometimes I kind of go back and forth, and she was like, you better make a decision, because it's going to be coming quick. So when I came to Fort Worth, I had a meeting with the pastor. She wants me to, who's going to do the wedding, so that way I can just stop. But I did spend 19 years, 20 years total in corporate America, 19 in one company, and I was in management. And this was all before I went into ministry to work at the church. I started off as a missions pastor and then also the project manager, and did that for a year. Then I became the executive pastor there at the church. But my kids knew me as the one that was always serious. I didn't cut up. I didn't play around, because I was providing for my family where my wife could stay home, and I was in management for this company. So I worked long hours. I traveled a lot, and when I came home, I was just always serious. I went to work for the church, and God's got a sense of humor. So I called my daughter one day. I said, hey, can you come up to the church? I need you to help me with something. And when she came up there, it was for a Mother's Day program. I was like, I need help. And she comes up there, and I'm dressed as Elvis Presley. She goes, look what this church is doing to you. And it's just gotten worse over the years, especially now that I have grandkids. One of the things I started doing here recently is playing with puppets. And when I say I'm playing with puppets, I am trying to learn how to do this. We did a skit not too long ago in one of the churches there in Guatemala. It was me and two other boys, and I had my puppet, and during this whole thing, they're like, we want to do something too. They took off their dirty socks. And these ladies are over there holding them, and I'm like, y'all are making me sick. And so we did these puppet things. Well, I'm trying to do it in Spanish, read a skit, and do this at the same time. And as I'm talking, my hands are staying just like this. That puppet ain't moving one bit. It was hilarious. But what I've found out is the kids, they don't care. They love this puppet. So I've got about 7 of these things. But what I also learned is that the adults like it too. The adults over there have a little bit more sense of humor than we do here. They like living life, and not saying that we don't like to live life, but here we're very busy all the time. So what I started doing is, in Guatemala, you could be trafficked. I got one that looks like, I call him Moses. He's just out of the Bible, kind of scary looking, for my wife and daughter say. And I will grab this puppet while I'm driving, shifting gears and everything, and I'll put him out the window looking at people going by, just sitting there doing this. Talk to them in Spanish every now and then with the words I do know. But what was funny is I put that one up, and I really wasn't paying attention one night, and I put this thing up. In our closet, it doesn't have doors, it's curtains. And his head is perfectly looking at my wife, and she's like, you're going to have to do something with that. So anyways, I started doing that. But one thing that people always ask, and You know, each and every one of us, when we get saved, we're not called to sit in these pews. We're called to serve. Whether that's in a foreign country like we were called to, whether it's here in the church, whether it's your workplace, wherever it may be, you're not meant to sit just to sit in a pew. You're meant to come in here and get fed, just like you're doing right now. But you're also meant to serve in some type of capacity. So people always ask, well, how do you know? Well, there's a couple of different things, but I always like to mention my daughter, because we got called to Guatemala, and it wasn't the best news for a lot of people in our family. They were very upset about it. We are 3 years after, I told them a little over 3 years ago, they're finally catching on, okay, this is real. They're not coming back. Well, with our daughter, who is now 26, when she was 19 years old, I made her go get a driver's license. She had no desire to get a driver's license. She was not going to do it. She never drove in Texas hardly. It was very rare. If I needed it from the store, I'd have to make her go. I was like, you're going to the store. You got to keep driving. You're going to forget it. But it would just terrify her. She had anxieties and stuff like that. But we'd go to if we went to a Starbucks, let's just say something easy, a Starbucks to get a coffee, she could not order for herself at 19, 20 years old because she was just terrified to even talk to somebody. So she never did anything while she was here. In Guatemala, let me say this. Next Sunday morning, she's speaking in front of a church. Not in Guatemala, but in Plano, Texas. She knows, I get goosebumps thinking about this. Now, she knows a lot of people there, so that's going to help. But there's still going to be some nerves because no matter what, you always get nervous when you get up in front of a crowd, people you don't know everybody. She drives all over Guatemala. And for those of you who have been there, you see how crazy that can be. She drives to the airport, everything. She is fully bilingual. We're talking just a little over a year. She knows Spanish better than her fiance. And I say that, people laugh, but then I had to explain Spanish is not his first language. He has a Mayan dialect that he learned as a kid, and so he had to learn Spanish, and he knows English as well. So, but she knows it better than him, I think. And so when people see that, I say, well, just 5 years ago, I had a daughter who wouldn't drive, who wouldn't talk in front of people, who wouldn't order her own stuff, and now I can't even keep her at home most of the time because she's out running around Guatemala somewhere. And that's how you know that God's really in something, because he can change people. For people who we don't think can be changed, and prayer is big, and you just be amazed. But what JC and there's another single missionary lady there. Her name is Carrie Roberts. She lives in the apartment right above us, and those two are like best friends in Guatemala. Carrie's getting married in November, and they're in each other's weddings and getting that all planned out. And so y'all pray for me because I'm the only guy in there. Because when Neftali hears about it, he just leaves sometimes. I'm stuck listening to all this stuff. But it's really cool to see what God's doing there. But they do a English club. So it's kind of like here. If you know Spanish and English, you're going to get a job just about anywhere, just about. It's a big help when you know that. When Guatemala and most other countries, it's the same way. So her and this girl, this other lady, they are teaching in an English club in a couple of our different churches and feeding centers, and it's really cool to see them do that and being in the community and getting to know these people and just loving on them. Well, then you got my wife. We have been married 30 years this year. I always tell people she's very lucky, but it's actually the other way around. I'm very fortunate for 30 years. I was telling somebody a while ago, I got here, I think April 24th. I got here a week before her, and then she got in last Friday, and we've seen each other maybe 5 hours in the last two and a half weeks. But as soon as I get home tomorrow, by tomorrow night, she's going to be ready for me to be on the road again. So, because I will just pester her the whole time like a good husband should, right? But one of Jill's favorite things is she loves birthdays. And last year I was here in May, and I had to go see a few people, and I was going to be gone Mother's Day, and that was not a big deal to her. She said, I do not care about that. It's no big deal. But I was going to be gone on my birthday, and she was not happy with me about that. And I'm like, I'm 50 years old. I'm going to be 51. It's really not that big of a deal, but that's how big birthdays are a big deal to Jill. So we have 22 kids in the orphanage, and each one of them get a birthday. And then we have 6 boys at our boys' home on the other side of Antigua, and she does a birthday celebration with them. That is part of her ministry, what she does there. But she's also a nurse, and so that's my favorite doctor. I don't go to the doctor. I go to her. If she can't fix it, I'm like, why do we pay for schooling if you can't fix me? So she says I am by far her worst patient, but she does a good job with that. And there's so many people out in these communities because she helps out in different areas, and she has built a relationship with people throughout the community. So it's really cool to see what's going on down there. Now, my favorite thing is it's Christmas time. And I keep the beard, which gets on my nerves. And at one time, if you can believe it or not, I had long hair. And I got tired of long hair living in Texas. It got so hot, I shaved it completely bald, and I've never grown my hair back out. And I want to do that with this beard because it gets on my nerves. It's always sweating. Food gets in it when I eat. If y'all have had lunch or dinner with me this week, you'll see I'm always doing this, trying to make sure I get the food out. But everybody that we run into in Guatemala, most of them call me Santa Claus. And I think it's really cool, so I have to keep this beard. My pastor, whenever I was working on the church, great friend of mine, I was getting ready to go on deputation, and that's where we have to go out and raise our support. And when I'm sitting in his office, he goes, you're going to have to shave that beard off. There's going to be a lot of places that don't like it. And I was like, we'll see. So you're just jealous because you ain't grown one. You're giving each other a hard time. And that was November, December time frame. And then in January, him and I are in Guatemala, and we're going down the road in traffic, and there's this truck. I mean, and they'll pile people in a vehicle. They'll put 20 people in the back end of a truck if they can fit in there. And these kids that keep staring, he goes, just roll down the window and, give them a ho, 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 whatever. And I did that, and the truck just fell out. And later on that night, we're sitting at Casa Manal, which for those who've been there, what we're talking about on our patio there. We've got a nice-sized deck. And overlooks Guatemala City, and we're drinking coffee. It's about 9:30. He goes, you can never shave that beard, right? And I was like, I know, but it's kind of cool to see all that. But anyway, so tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for a few minutes. So if you got a pen and paper, I'm not going to ask you to take notes from me, but you can. But I want you to write down questions, because at the end, when I get done talking, we're going to have some time left over. I want you to ask me some questions. Not hard ones. I'm not the smart one out of this whole deal. She's back in Fort Worth. No, ask me anything you want, and I will do my best to answer them. But I want you to seriously do that. I want you to get involved in this. You're only going to get as much out of it as if you put in it. So I want you to take some notes, and I also want you to ask me some questions. And I'm also going to challenge you tonight. We have a lot of missionaries. When I was a missions pastor, I would always get the letters, and those letters are always fun to look at and everything. But I also got the letters when it was saying that a couple was coming off the field. And I was talking to a pastor just last week. He said he got 6 letters just about the last 5-6 months of missionaries coming off the field. And we see it when we moved to Guatemala. There were 4 missionary families there that came off the field right then. I was like, what is going on? And statistics show, I'm a numbers guy, remember 20 years in corporate America. The statistics show that for every one family that goes on, 4 come off. That's not very good. So I started asking, what's going on out there? And I have a missionary buddy of mine, and I won't say his name, but he was a missionary in Africa, still is. And he had a team he was leading out there, and him and the pastor went inside like a little tiendas, what we call them in Guatemala here. They're little convenience stores or whatever. And he goes in there. It's probably a root beer or a Dr. Pepper or something, but it was a can of soda. And it was $6. And he bought this $6 can. And when he got back out to the van, the pastor that was with him was like, I don't appreciate you spending our support money on a $6 can of Coke or whatever it may be. He goes, well, Pastor, that's cheaper than a mental break now. And you think about that for a minute. I was talking to Pastor Steve back there today at lunch, and I was talking to Matt and Becky last night and a couple other ones. Sometimes, at the end of the day, the devil, there's an enemy that works against us all the time. And I didn't see my grandkids or my 2 boys for 8 months. And that's not always easy, and the devil likes to put that in your mind, something about that, and make it negative as possible. But at the end of the day, sometime, it's always good to have, like, I didn't know I like York peppermint patties till I couldn't buy them anymore. You know, so we have so many York peppermint patties. Don't go buy any. I don't need them. I had a church do that. I told that at a church, I bet we got 10 bags of York peppermint patties before we left. But it's little things like that, and I'm going to challenge you here in a little bit on what you need to do what you should be doing for your missionaries that you support. Do y'all know how many missionaries y'all support here out of Calvary Baptist Church? Well, right over here on the wall, there's a little sign, I guess. It's got all their names on it. I'm not going to ask you to memorize them or anything at all, but you should go look at it, and we're going to tell you why. But if you got your Bibles, turn over to Philippians. We're going to talk about Paul for a few minutes. Paul was the poster child for missionaries. For people who think, well, God can't use me. I've got so many bad things in my past. Well, if you don't know Paul, he was Saul, and he was a Christian killer. So you look at what he did for him and what he can do for you. He did it for people in the Bible. He's still doing it today. The Lord is. He can change you, and he will change you if you allow him. But Philippians 1, 3 through 5, it says, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, taking request for you all with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. So the Philippian church didn't really commission Paul and just says, get out of here. They didn't do that. They were with him. Now, during this time that Paul's writing this, I'm pretty sure that he was in prison. In prison there is not like our prisons here today. Most of them are pretty comfortable. You get 3 meals a day or whatever. He was pretty much shackled to a guard 24/7, maybe in a little hole like cave type thing. No privacy, not very comfortable, no cable TV or anything like that at all. But when he's reading this, always in every prayer of mine request for you all with joy. They were with him at all times. He knew his church was going to be with him, that whatever he was going through. Their prayers reached him while he was in prison. Can I tell you that I know when somebody's praying for me? My wife could tell you the same thing. Most missionaries will tell you that. I know when somebody's praying for me. There's just something about it. You just know. Maybe you're in a situation somewhere or whatever it may be, and then you just know the Holy Spirit's working, but you know back home somebody's praying for you. Their love reached him in his loneliness. A lot of times when missionaries come off the field, a lot of it has to do with loneliness, missing family. Some of it could be discouragement. There's many, many different reasons. But this is God's design, a church body that works together. So when y'all had a missions month just back in October or November, I believe. So you had missionaries here, and those are always fun. You're going to hear all the great things that usually happen on the mission field. You don't get to see all the bad stuff or hear of some of the burdens. But God's design was for us to all work together. So when you take on a missionary family, you don't just have them here for that night or for that week and then just send them out of here and never think of them again or never pray for them again or just to continue to give money each Sunday or monthly, whatever it may be. It's meant to be daily, working with the missionaries that you serve here. Exodus 17:12. It says, when Moses grew weary in battle, Aaron and Hur held his arms up until sundown, and Israel prevailed. First off, kind of make you look at your friends for a minute. Who's going to go into battle with you, and who's going to help you hold your arms up when you get tired and you get weary? Who are those people? But then again, who are you helping out? Who are you in battle with that's going through something that you're holding their arms up so that God can get the victory and the glory? I was at a church here recently. Brother Steve, don't let me forget, I got pictures. I'm going to forget about that. I'll do those at the end. I usually do them at the beginning. I was at a church just on this trip, and if you go outside to if I'm standing right here, it'd been to the left, and you go outside and they've got this long hallway, and down the whole hallway, both sides, up and down, is all their missionaries, newsletters, and it's just a really cool deal. I call it the Hall of Fame, just as I wanted to be in a Hall of Fame. They call it something else, though, but I thought that was really cool how they did that. And I did the same thing here, but as you go down, if you take your time and you read the missions letters, and I was reading them, it's all about, you hear all the salvations, which you want to hear about those. Those are victories. And did you know that everything that happens on a mission field, if you're given to missions or you're praying for the missionaries, you play a part in that? You're going to get to heaven one day. If you're saved, you're going to get to heaven one day, and some little kid or mom or dad's going to be like, hey, I'm here because you were part of this. I think that's how our God works. It's really cool how that's going to happen. You'll hear about the baptisms, the church plants, get to see all the good things. But what you don't see or hear about is the burdens or the weights that many carry. I don't know. We have a missionary family that we love there in Guatemala. They have 4 kids under the age of 5. I don't know how they do it. Ours were separated out 3 years each, and I thank God I was able to work and my wife stay at home. I don't know how to do all that, some of that stuff that you moms know how to do really well, but this missionary couple's on the field, and they got 4 children under the age of 5, and that's got to be hard, I think. Because some of them kids, they can be attached to mama, right? Did y'all have one like that was maybe a big mama's boy, or shaking your head yes, and it's hard to get work done when you got one on your hip. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 1:8 real quick. I hear people turning their pages. You know, it's time flies. I said that about 2.5 years ago. We were here, and a group of y'all came down to Guatemala 10 months ago already. And that was the fun time for y'all that were there because we had those major earthquakes. That was a lot of fun to go through. We had several hundred throughout the week with earthquakes and aftershocks, but we were always, just felt like you were moving. Until this day, my wife and I sit there. We were in Ohio back in January. She goes, are we moving? I was like, no, we're sitting still. So we got so used to everything shaking. But here I'm going to talk about, let's talk about carrying that weight, the burdens, what some of them do. And Paul's talking here as well. He says, for we do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, of our trouble which came to us in Asia, that we were burdened beyond measure, above strength, so that we despaired even of life. Now, of course, back in those days, they had scrolls they read off over, they wrote on. Here we have technology. And technology is awesome because we have Facebook, stuff like that, or you can go to FaceTime and FaceTime your buddies and say, I'm going through this or this is happening. So we have no excuses of why we can't be in connection with somebody when we're going through something or need somebody. So what was sustaining these people sustaining Paul during this time? Well, it's the first part of verse 11 there says, you also helping together in prayer for us. What sustains us through those heavy burden times is you. It's our churches. Now, it's not always easy for people to talk about when they have an issue, is it? Especially for guys, right, Brother Matt? Are you good at telling somebody when you're going through something? Are you good at telling your wife about it? So, yeah, same. I am not good at sharing that kind of stuff with my wife. So that's why it's always good to have those buddies. I'm not saying that's a good thing to not say talk to your wife. I want you talking to your wife. But I need to have some buddies who I can talk to because there's some things I'm going to go through that my wife's not going to understand. And there's definitely things that she goes through I don't understand. So she needs those people. But the church back then was what was there to sustain Paul during that time. You are here to sustain your missionaries during this time. There's missionaries on the field that they can't even tell you where they're at because it's so dangerous. These restricted access nations. We are in this together. Now, when I'm sitting up here and I'm telling you these things, I don't want you having pity for missionaries. I don't want you feeling sorry for us. I don't want any of that at all. I'm just trying to make you aware of some things that happen out there on the mission field. where Jill, JC, and I, and the missionaries that we work with are fortunate is I will have 52 to 56 churches come through Guatemala this year just with MANNA. It's a lot of gringos coming through. We get called gringos. And by the way, if you come to Guatemala, you're going to get called a gringo. It's nothing bad. Somebody goes, is that a bad thing to be called a gringo? No, it's not bad. They love it when you're here. We get to see a lot of Americans. So it's really cool because you get to come there and you're talking with people. But there's a lot of missionaries who don't get visited in different countries. See, I can be doorstep to doorstep. I can leave my apartment in Guatemala and be at my son's house in Fort Worth in 6 hours. It's a pretty easy flight, 2 hours and 45 minutes, 3 hours max usually. You get through customs and everything pretty easy. And then be at my son's house, all within 6 hours. There's a lot of people who don't have that. There's a lot of missionaries out there that are not going to have one team come visit. We've got a large amount coming through. They're not all coming to visit us, but I'll see them every day. And it's really cool to have that. But we are all in this together. Philippians 4:19 says, this is a promise to those who partner faithfully in the gospel. So if you're a partner, if you're given to missions, if you're praying for your missionaries and so forth, you're a partner with each and every one of us. And this is God's promise. And my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. 1995. I always like to say this. I married up. I have a beautiful wife, a very intelligent wife. She's educated. She got stuck with me. I don't know what she did prior to meeting her. I always tell her I don't want to know what you did because God stuck you with me, so you had to done something bad. She gets mad at me when I say that, but anyways. In 1995, my life was kind of spiraling a little bit out of control. And there was one night, me and a buddy of mine got home very, very, very early in the mornings when we shouldn't have been out. It was just a bad night. And I remember that night like it was yesterday praying, God, you're going to have to send me a good Christian woman or I'm not going to make it. So I got saved in 1991, but like many, I got away from the Lord pretty quick. But I remember praying that like it was yesterday. And about a few months later is when I met Jill. In 1999, she got me into church. I rededicated my life to the Lord. And it was a few years later, she goes, you need to start tithing. Now, what I didn't know is that Jill was already tithing. She'll tell you she was tithing underneath the table because she didn't want to get us in trouble. You're supposed to be obedient to the Lord. The Bible tells you this. Read Malachi 3:10 if you want to really get into that. But I had a hard time tithing. I didn't have the faith. It's like, man, that's 10% of our income. That's a lot of money back then. We weren't making much at the time. But I started tithing, and we didn't miss it. Never missed it. I never missed a meal. It's pretty clear today. I've been eating good. Shortly after that, she's like, okay, now you need to start giving to missions. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to sign my check over to the church. Just not going to do it. She's like, I'm not asking you to give much, but you need to give to missions. Y'all, this was in like 2010. So we're talking not very long ago. I was not giving to missions. I had no desire to give to missions. I'm like, there's people that could do that. They all have at it. But I was ignorant of not knowing everything. So we had a missions conference shortly. I say shortly. It could have been a year or two after that. Because I think I started giving to missions in 2012, sometime around there. But I remember this missionary, and missionaries are the worst. We would bring in pictures to try to pull at them heartstrings and really get you feeling good, or, and this missionary brought in, I remember it, I couldn't tell you who the missionary was, but he had this picture up there on the wall or up on the screen. It was a swimming pool, and it's surrounded by everybody getting baptized, and he is holding this girl just like this. She's completely paralyzed, there's something wrong. But wasn't wrong with her was her joy. I mean, a grin from ear to ear because she was getting baptized. All because of this missionary there that was able to, I get goosebumps thinking about it, to share the gospel. And I'm like, all right, God, I give up. So I started giving to missions. Bruce O'Neill, the founder of MANNA, the organization we were with, came to church shortly after that and promoted a trip to go to Guatemala in 2013. And we had just gotten back. I took over one of our branches for the company I was working with, and we had a rental house. And the renters tore the house up, and we spent all of our life savings back into that house so we could get it going again. I came in the house Sunday afternoon after church and told Jill, I said, I don't know how we're going to do this, but I think I'm supposed to go on this mission trip. She said, well, I think you are too. God supplied all the money. What I'm getting at is when we're obedient to the Lord and we're given our tithe and anything we give over that is your offerings and so forth, what God can do through you, I'd rather be a vessel for him than be a tool for Satan, right? Went on that trip, and then shortly after that, I started leading the trips. It's really cool to see what all God did with that. Love giving to missions. And then we had COVID come through, right? So I always share this story because a lot of people don't understand this. I was one of those people who said, we have enough problems here in America that we need to take care of our own first. I have close friends of mine who tell me that all the time. I can't believe you're in a foreign country, a third world country, helping out when there's plenty to do around here. And I always ask the question, great, what are you doing? You got to know the individual before you say that. It might turn into a fight. But in 2020, COVID happened. Formula, I don't know much about formula, but I do know this. This grandmother who was in Guatemala with me last year, she calls me and she's bawling. I'm like, I need you to calm down so I can understand what you're saying. She goes, well, our granddaughter is a NICU baby, and we can't find formula anywhere. I said, give me a couple minutes. I'm going to see what I can do. I made a call down to Fort Worth Pregnancy Center, who we were supporting. It's an organization there in Fort Worth. And I was like, Jamie, do you have any NICU formula? Is this even a thing? And she goes, it is a thing. We've got 2 cases. I said, can I buy a case from you? She says, no, I'll give you a case. So I'm going to send a lady down to you. She's going to be in a panic mode. I said, but thank you for doing this. See, we have resources here in the States. I was able to call and help this family out. Nothing I did, just we were supporting this organization. And they helped get this little baby formula. In Guatemala and other third world countries and other countries like that, oh well. So your missionaries are the resources. I didn't know that at the time when I said we have enough issues here in the States. Most of our problems are because we created them. That's just a way of life. So your missionaries need to be on the field to be the resource for those families who need stuff. So Philippians 4:19, that's the promise to be a partner faithfully in the gospel. The Lord's going to take care of you. The Bible tells us that the harvest is plentiful. There's people everywhere, but the laborers are few. I chased that dollar for many years. I'll tell you this, God's got more money than any company has. So if you follow what God's telling you to do, he's going to supply. I still eat good. I was just telling Fred back there, I like tacos just as much as he does. And we have this place called La Cantina. It's not a bar. It's La Cantina and Tre Fratelli. And whenever I was learning Spanish 3 years ago, and I'm still learning Spanish 3 years later, it was me, my buddy, my pastor, senior pastor, our daughter JC, and my buddy Hoss, who's about 6'4", 6'5", 300, probably about 300 pounds. I hope he's not watching. I might be off a few pounds. And I ordered these I was like, hey, I'm going to order for everybody. We good with just getting this taco platter? They're like, yeah, it looks great. I ordered the taco platter. It's got 12 tacos on it, 4 people, 3 tacos each. It's pretty good. Well, while we're sitting there eating, they brought out another platter. Okay, we got 12 more tacos we got to eat. Well, then they brought out a third platter. I'm like, okay, time out. How many more we got now? That was it. So we had 36 tacos. We ate every one of those tacos. So, yeah, I'm eating good. So God takes care of that. And I told some other stories to Matt and Becky last night, different things that God has done. But I'm married to a lady who prays like nobody's. She's the biggest prayer warrior I know. Her faith is stupid strong. It gets on my nerves sometimes because sometimes I would just like to have a little pity party for a minute. And she's like, okay, you're 51. It's time to get over this. God's going to get you through it, and this and that. And she never worries. Y'all got somebody in your life that never worries? Maybe you're that person. I don't like y'all. I like to worry, I guess. God takes care of everything. The church is the answer to all these problems. There's people here in a church this size being called to do something. We're just not listening. Well, I was talking to one of the BBFI directors several years ago, and he put it just like this, and anybody been in a conference, he goes, God has never stopped calling people to ministry. People have stopped answering the call. See, we talk to our children about being doctors, lawyers, whatever it may be, just be successful. And we have a son that's in school to be a doctor, but he loves missions. He wants to do missionary work as a doctor. And I truly believe that God's going to do that with his life, however that may be. But, missions and other ministry type stuff is not a calling of few families. It is the mission of the church. Here in Snyder, this is your mission field out here. But what it is, when we go to a different country, there's some of us going to go to different countries, but each and every one of us need to be sending those people. So my challenge to you, I'm going to show you some pictures here in a minute, then I want to get some questions and answers. But my challenge to you, and I did this a few years ago, it's probably been 6-7 years ago now, is I got one whole day, I just stood in the office and I emailed every one of our missionaries a personal letter or note, email. And I didn't blind carbon copy. That would have been very easy. I did one by one. And I got a lot of responses. And I wish I would have kept those because it was very encouraging to me, but I know it was an encouragement to them. So I would challenge you, right outside here, to the right, you got your map up there with all your different countries on there where you are sending missionaries. Find one or two. And if you got small children, make it an event. If you're not doing it, start doing a devotional with them every night before they go to bed and say, hey, let's email our missionary tonight. I'm not saying for one family to go email every one of them. Each and every one of you can go out there, pick one or two missionaries, and just email them and to see what that might do for that missionary family. And just a couple hints there. First off, ask them how they're doing. But make sure they understand they're not in it alone. That you and others here at Calvary Baptist Church in Snyder, Texas, are praying for them and their families. I'm very fortunate. Brother Matt reaches out every once in a while. This is just out of y'all's church. Pastor Steve back there reaches out to me every once in a while. Jeremy Haynes reaches out to me every once in a while. Brennan reaches out to me. I'm pointing at Kiri. Brennan's not in here. That's just 4 people right here that are reaching out to me. I get encouragement all the time. I'm very, very fortunate. Maybe God knows I'm weak. I don't know. And I couldn't do it without them. But there's other missionaries out there that are not getting that encouragement. And we need to be reaching out to them. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I think any minute God's going to call us. We're living in bad times right now. There's wars. They talk about, if you read Revelation, you get into it, you see about all the different things that are happening. We live there. We have all the earthquakes. I've seen volcanoes. I got to hike a volcano a few months back. It was really cool to see what God does, watching that volcano all night long just explode. But you talk about having tornadoes, and earthquakes, and hurricanes and stuff like that in different places. Guatemala had their first tornado last summer for the first time in over 20 years. I remember I was driving a team coming down out of the mountain out of San Lucas there, and I was like, this is not a regular storm. This is something different. And it was just 4 or 5 miles away from us. Don't think that it couldn't be in our generation that God's like, hey, let's go. But we still have work to do. I'm going to go through some of these pictures real quick. Like I said, I want to make sure that you get to see some. My daughter, oh, look at the baby. If I could sleep that good, I'd probably be a happier person to begin with. I hear every noise that goes down. My wife, whenever she gets up or something during the middle of the night, she's got to be really, really quiet or I'll wake up. But my daughter took this picture of this baby. Aren't they adorable? They're going to grow up one day and be a teenager, and it won't be so adorable anymore. But no, the baby's precious. This is probably one of our feeding centers, either in El Dorado or San Lucas. One of the mamas there that JC knows, she got a picture. How about the next picture? Okay, we got 4 boys. I'm going to tell you right now, kids, especially boys, are the same in every country. They are a mess wherever they're at. These 4 boys here, they're in El Dorado, probably had a team there, or probably out playing soccer or some type of event. But these kids are a mess. They're a lot of fun to play with, and if you got a soccer ball, you got new best friends. They love to play them some football there. So, how about the next picture? Okay, so this is our MANNA church there in El Dorado. And El Dorado means the plow, for those who don't know. I'm going to tell you what's really cool about this. So, when we got to Guatemala 2.5 years ago, in March, one of our supporting churches in Aurora, Texas, which is where I rededicated my life back to the Lord back in 1999, we were members of that church. And I didn't want to go speak at this church. There was something about it. We had left, not for anything bad. We had moved and didn't really go back and talk to anybody. I was like, I do not want to be that missionary that calls, hey, can I come in here? And God orchestrated it. I was at a church event, and it might have been here because there was a BBFI conference here, and Andrew Vandergriff, who does a lot of Ironman stuff, was up there in the teaching in a classroom, and I was talking to him about going on the mission field. He's like, bro, you have to come to Aurora. So I went there. They put us on for support immediately. They wanted to do a mission trip. So 2.5 years ago, March, 2 years ago, March now, and Brother Jimmy, we're sitting right out there in that church. He goes, man, I remember being here about 12 years ago, and there was 12 pastors, and we were praying for this piece of property. And I've heard that story. I've told that story, how a group of pastors went to Guatemala, and they prayed for that church right there, and how it was nothing but property. And now I've got a church that was part of that. I thought that is really cool how God orchestrated all that. And he goes, now, we didn't support it because we knew there was going to be other churches that did it. We took our work to India and did that. He goes, but it's so cool to see what God still did and what God has continued to do. So that's our church there in El Dorado, and it's also a feeding center, and we will feed about 60 to 80 kids a day, Monday through Friday, in this feeding center. So really cool stuff happening. Now, over here to the right with the green and white striped roof, that is a trade school. Most people in this area, this is a Mayan village. The government there in Guatemala, and most governments, think really poorly of the Mayan people. You can read up on it. I won't get into that tonight. But they make on a good day between about $8 a day. Not an hour, $8 a day. Now, we have a trade school here, and what they do in that trade school is they teach them how to weld, and they also do a paint or auto body type work. And when we first moved to Guatemala, right before that, I saw them take a truck in there, and it had rusty holes in it. It looked horrible. And then I saw when it came out, and I'm like, please, Lord, help me get a truck that didn't look like that before it went in, because when it came out, it looked brand new. Like, I don't want to be driving something that's going to fall apart on me. But they're learning that, and they get a certificate, but they're also learning about Jesus in there. They get to hear the gospel. There's a Bible study every time they have class. So they get this certification, and then they're able to go out to make $20, $30, $40 a day, which is not a whole lot to us. But if you're making $8 a day and you go double your income, that's a major life change. So it's pretty cool to see what's going on through there with MANNA. Now on the other side over there, there's 4 classrooms. The last classroom down on the right is the pastor's office, but there's some other classes up there. That's where they do English club. They also have ladies come through the village that are making their outfits, and we'll talk about that here in a minute with a picture. So they got some really cool stuff there. They have a class they're teaching young men and women to learn some IT type stuff, because there's a lot of call centers. So if you get those phone calls, those people are actually making really good money doing that. They get on our nerves when they call us, but they're making quite a bit of money living in Guatemala and these other third world countries off of that. And then they also do some other type of classroom stuff. So it's really cool. Just one of the MANNA locations here of what's going on there in Guatemala. How about the next picture? So this is some type of carpet or rug, whatever you want to call them, during Semana Santa, which is Holy Week, the week prior to Easter. It is a big deal in Guatemala the week before Easter. It's actually a big deal the whole month. There's people everywhere, but that week prior, we don't even have teams come down because there'll be several million people down in this area in Guatemala, but they will spend hours on making these carpet rugs like this, and it's beautiful. They will spend hours doing that. It'll be gone in no time at all. But I'll tell you what, let's just go on to the next picture real quick. This is how detailed it gets. You can see this guy, they got wood, so they're not on top of it, messing it all up. They're very detailed with it and everything. But what's it all for? Because they celebrate the death in Guatemala, not the resurrection. When Jesus came off that cross, and 3 days later, he rose again. They don't celebrate that. They spend a lot of time and effort into this for nothing. But us as Christians, how much time and effort are we spending pouring into somebody? Sharing the gospel with somebody? Discipling somebody? Mentoring somebody? Think about that for a minute. Think of somebody in your life that made a difference in your life. That maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a mentor, maybe it was a pastor, maybe it was a friend. Who could say that about you? It's not too late to get started. Next picture. Now, what you can't see underneath here, this is one of the processions. These processions are crazy busy. We were down there with that group I was just telling you about, and usually a 15-minute walk took us over an hour because it was just that many people down there trying to get through it. And there's smoke everywhere because they're just constantly, I forget what it's called, but they're waving it back and forth, and it's just all this smoke, and you're coughing and everything. But underneath this thing is probably 50, 60 people, and they're carrying this heavy thing. Some of them are crying. A lot of them, they think they gotta pay their pendants to whatever it is. They got to work to get into heaven. And I say that because there's a group of, there's two people we're working with right now that me and a couple other guys that we just kind of pour into, really talk to, and share them the love of Christ. And they're like, it can't be that easy. Just accept Jesus into your heart. I'm saying, that's what the Bible tells me. I'm not trying to pour it on you. That's what the Bible tells us. But to him, it's works. And that's what you see here. Now, these things are really cool, but these things will start 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and go for 18 to 20 hours. Yeah, it's wild. It's something to see once. I promise you, that's all you're going to want to do is once. And then it's just too many people. How about the next picture? So I send this. So this is one of our churches out of Plano, the one that we're going to be at this coming up Sunday. Now, over there, y'all, for those who were there, that's Pastor Jorge over there doing a phenomenal job, and we are doing a home visit, and we gave him a stove, and on those home visits, sometimes we'll take groceries. Usually we buy 2 bags of groceries, $40 to $50, and it never fails. Every time we have a team, go out mall, we take to the store, say, hey, we're going to buy these baskets. Us as Americans, and we don't mean it by anything bad, well, that's just not a lot. Well, that's 2 weeks' salary for somebody that you're giving $40, $50 worth of groceries to. Just imagine. So take your 2 weeks' salary and somebody bringing you that in groceries. It's going to be overwhelming, right? So we get to do that. It allows us into a house. The stove there that we did, so most of the time they will cook on the ground there in Guatemala, and all the smoke that sits there and billows throughout the whole house. And they'll lay their babies next to her, small children, so you got burns every now and then, but they're constantly something wrong with their respiration or whatever, respiratory, that one. Can't breathe, and people have died from it, young people. And it's just all over the walls of soot. And so we come in there and we put a nice stove in and we run a smoke stack to the top. You see it there. But what this allows us to do is to get into a home, and we're able to share the love of Christ. We're able to share the gospel with them. Now, if the opportunity arises, we will share this, salvation with them. And we see that. But this is why it's important to have, when we are doing this in a home visit, to have that pastor there. Because now, so once somebody gets saved there, this pastor is going to get to go back and, hey, okay, this is where we got to start. We got to start discipling. Because what's going to happen when we leave, there's going to be another group come through, and I won't say different religions, but they're going to go with what they have because they think they got to do that. And then the next group's going to come in. That's why it's so important when somebody gets saved to start discipleship immediately. Same thing happens here. We need to get on it. So, next picture. I always put one. So this looks like he's eating a pizza. And one day I like to go to the feeding centers, and sometimes I'll eat what they're eating, and sometimes it's really good. But I was like, man, that looks really good. I want to eat that. And I thought it was something different, and it turned out to be a fried egg with a big old piece of cauliflower or something else. And I ate it. But you know how it is when you think something's going to be really, really good. You're thinking that, and it's something else. I had to choke it down a little bit. I'm going to lie. But it won't be rude to say don't take it back. But it was good nutritional. These kids, that will be probably the only nutritional meal they get of the day. Most of the time they'll get rice, tortillas, stuff like that, which is a diabetic nightmare. For those who have diabetes, you understand that. Diabetes is the number one killer in Guatemala. Jill will tell me the amount of people she checks, their levels, and I don't know nothing about it, are 400 to 500 at all the time. And I understand that's bad. I don't know how bad it is, but most of the time with people with diabetes, they tell me that's really bad. That's what they live with. How about the next picture? I need to hurry up because I'm going to make sure y'all get some questions in. Now, I always put this in there because they will dress to the T. I mean, she is dressed up for this event, and I always like going into Walmart and watching how people dress going to Walmart. We go out. You know, I flew back home with the team, and this one guy, he got dressed up. I mean, he had his nice hat on. He had a jacket. And it made me think, years ago, that's how people traveled, with some type of class. And I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, but we can do better. You know, we were presenting, you know, especially if we're going out for the Lord, let's present ourselves for the Lord. How about the next one? Now, this is just a Mayan lady who has next to nothing. But this outfit, if you were trying to buy that outfit, you're probably looking about $300. She either made that top part, that's called a huipil. Does anybody here know how to spell huipil? Just like it sounds, Q-U-I-P-I-L. Just like it sounds, huipil. But that top part makes about 8 to 9 months to be handmade. That's called a huipil. The bottom part is called a cortez. I'm not even going to try to, I can't not get the belt name down. I don't know why I struggle with that, so we're not even going to try it. But they're just beautiful, beautiful people, and they always want to be dressed up. Just a beautiful area. You know, is there any more pictures? Is that it? Okay. All right. So we got just, about 10, 15 more minutes. No pressure, but I want some questions. And there's no...
Thank you for joining us today for our live stream service from Calvary. Your presence is valued, and we appreciate your participation in our live stream audience. Should you have any inquiries regarding the process of receiving Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, please do not hesitate to contact us at www.cbcsnyder.com or via email at church@snyder.com. For those interested in learning more about the remarkable ministries offered at Calvary, we would be delighted to welcome you to our church campus for an in-person worship experience. Our church is situated at 2405 35th Street in Snyder, Texas. Alternatively, you may reach out to our church office via phone at 325-573-2191. Once again, we express our gratitude for your viewing of our online service. We eagerly anticipate your presence, either virtually or in person, in the near future. May the Lord bless you and keep you.